So welcome everybody. This is the Tim and Corey show. We're bringing up basic and very community. If you see on the TV screen, we have Corey, co-host, phenomenal speaker, and extraordinaire. So we're gonna really get it in. You want to introduce yourself, Corey?
How you doing, everybody? This is Corey, and all I want to know is what is real?
All
The
right.
truth, not the political truth, not the fake truth. Or how do you really, really feel about social situations today?
All right, so it's gonna be the truth and the whole truth. So we're gonna get into it. So we got our first topic going. It is growing up with a black father. Like, what is more beneficial? Growing up with both parents or a single mother? And we want to kind of delve into the benefits of it both. Let me give you the call-in number just in case you guys do not have it. Just bear with me. I'm a rookie to the game, so bear with me. So for the number for people to call in to chime in to agree, disagree, or be indifferent is 718-766-4558 and press the number 1 if you want to talk to us. If you just want to listen, just listen. And we can definitely go ahead and have a great topic. So, Corey, did you want to start it off or you want me to kick it off, man?
You go ahead.
All right. So I mean, I did a lot of research on growing up with a father, seeing though I'm from Chicago. I grew up with a father, very fortunate to have a father. It just seems like that sometimes, even with the economy being messed up, a dual income will 9 times out of 10 produce a better result. It's not always the case, but sometimes it will produce a better result. Um, there's a stat that says that if you are born to a single parent, that you are more likely to engage in risky behavior. And it's not because of the single parent. It's sometimes because you have one parent watching the child versus two parents watching the child. You know what I'm saying? So, and then you have that male and female thing going. So you got the child, whether it's a boy or girl, they get the feminine qualities from the mother and the masculine qualities, so they can kind of see how both the yin and the yang work. And then you got more protection and all of that good stuff, man. So Corey, what you think?
Okay. Sometimes it seems like you got to look at when you're talking about a single parent. What are you talking about underneath it? Are we talking about a single parent with money, a single parent who's growing up in a poor community? Because in all, the greatest benefit of two people is that both incomes combine.
Hmm.
And if they're both working parents, it gives the person more opportunity. But if they're both parents but only one of them works, it doesn't seem to be that much different than if it was a single mother, if the father
Well,
was
you got
working.
well, the thing about it, to answer your first question, I think a nuclear family, which is both parents in the home, kind of transcends poverty, or they grew up in the hood or they grew up in the suburbs, because a dual income probably will work anywhere. But to each his own. It can work 9 times out of 10. I could be wrong. I could be right. I think it kind of transcends that. So you can have, like, let me give you an example. And I know this is not the most realistic example, like Good Times. You had James in Florida, and James was the only one working for the most part. But at the same time, their kids were very, very disciplined, even though they grew up in the projects. And then you could have like the Cosby Show. That was a richer family, but their kids were disciplined. So I think as far as them going on after they turn 18 with both parents in the house, whether they come from a middle class background or an economically deprived background, I think just having those two parents in the home in a marriage, I think that will transcend it. You know, that's just
Okay,
my opinion.
it's better, but is it more likely that a black male will come from a single parent home or a nuclear family?
Well, nowadays, I think it is 70% or 70, a little bit more than 70% of black males come from single parent homes. I think the question that we need to talk about is why, actually.
Why do they come from single parent homes?
Yeah.
That you can go way back to slavery to cover that answer. So are we talking about a propaganda that was meant to separate the woman from her child, or a propaganda that was set to separate the father from his child?
Well, if you want to talk about propaganda, yeah, slavery does have big roots in that. Seeing that the black male was emasculated from the time that they got there. So as far as like a legitimate marriage or a regular marriage in slavery, that never happened. You know what I'm saying? Where you can get sold off or the master was raping the woman or whatever like that. So is it safe to say that 9 times out of 10 we never seen what a real black father looked like without propaganda or white supremacy coming in to violate that?
No, no, because our grandparents' generation, it was more likely that there would be the mother and the father. So even if we go back historically, you will see that blacks, even if it wasn't the natural family, there was a sense of family that was still in the home. It wasn't until after the baby boom generation with their kids, that you started to see the separation where single mothers were created. Because remember, in your grandparents' time, more than likely the woman didn't work.
Right, and that wasn't happening to World War II when you start having females going to the workplace. But I think we kind of forgot something. I think the reason why our grandparents and great grandparents were traditionally getting more married is because segregation was in place. So when you had segregation, you were more apt to depend on black people and living in black neighborhoods and being in a black community. So if you got all of that happening, it's more likely that you're going to stay in the family. So you weren't even allowed to venture out into mainstream America. Like around that time, segregation kind of kept black people a little bit closer. Would you agree?
Yes, but if we look at the economy and we strictly focus on economy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You will see that the black woman makes more on average. The black woman makes a higher salary than the black man. So could it possibly be that there are more single women who have children because they don't necessarily need a man? So
Well,
let's take this. Let's take this for instance. Okay, you can
mm-hmm.
be a single parent, but the father not be in the home, right? So let's say the
Mm-hmm.
U.S. government may want more single parents than they actually want nuclear families when they have to do with black people. So the government is going to help the woman to get child support. The government is going to make sure the woman gets food stamps. So let's take those two together and combine them monthly. You're looking at about $700 maybe or more per month. So would it be more beneficial for that woman to have the man in the home, or would it be more beneficial for her to put him on child support?
It would be more beneficial to have him in a home because number one, the woman, and each situation is different. I'm talking about on a micro level. I'm on a macro level. So pretty much if you have a nuclear family, you have two not likely have two incomes coming in, but also you have the value aspect of everything. So not only do you have the money coming in, you get to see a male going to work every day. Like you know what I'm saying? Versus you sending checks, but you never see the kid or whatever, things of that nature. So you not only get the financial benefits by having a nuclear family, but you also get the principles of it. You get to have dinners as a family, sitting down and asking how school was. You have two parents to check homework instead of one. You know what I'm saying? Just more impactful. If you have kids that's involved in extracurricular activities, you have both of them to help them out with that or pick them up or do the carpool thing. Or also, let's say that the kid is having problems in school with a teacher. You have the mother come up there and see what's going on, and talk to the teacher. And then how powerful is that to have the father come the next day or come together as a unit? You can't beat that. So what I'm saying is that it would be more beneficial to have the nuclear family. Now, if you're getting child support, you're getting the financial benefit, but nothing else. So what's the incentive for the male to come around the child other than he loves the child but can't stand the wife or the girlfriend?
What's more beneficial for the woman? Because in all, it is the woman's decision.
Right, but what the woman needs to care for the child. So what's more beneficial for the child?
Is that what you think happens today? Is that what you think that the women care
No, it
about?
doesn't. No, it doesn't. But a good-natured woman should think like that.
And that's what you think, that we have these good-natured women who are worried. Like, if we're talking about, if we're being
What's
100% real, are we talking about these good-natured women who are truly caring about the future for their children, or are they caring about, you better have my check by this date?
Well, from what I've seen in my 32 years, I've seen the ones that are kind of greedy. So yes, I agree with you on that one. All right.
So
So why? That's the question, right?
because
So
what is
I got a theory too, but go ahead.
this is the thing. If you grew up without a father,
Hmm.
why would you think it was important to have a father? So this is from me growing up without a father. If having a girl, I do see the importance. But me being a boy at this date and what I've learned, I don't really see the difference. I think as long as you have one parent who really cares about you, that can make all the difference. Because you have two parents and one is beating on the other one, or one is there but not really there. One is there but checked out. But if you have that one parent who just cares enough about your future, then everything will be okay because they care about your future, not about that check.
Yeah, you kind of set me up good for that one, and yes, and I will agree. I will agree with no. That's why we're here. So yeah, absolutely. I would rather have one good parent any day of the week, whether it's male or female, than one bad parent and one good parent. You know what I'm saying? Because that can be hell on a child. We don't want that. But at the same time, that's an extreme precious type situation you brought up. Do you think
Mm-hmm.
I said that's one of those extreme precious type situations? You know, the movie Precious,
Yeah, I agree.
one of those situations. So for the most part, I don't know what goes on in people's houses, but I'm just saying for the most part, I don't think getting a check is going to benefit. You got to look at the circumstances. What are the circumstances that the single mothers are taking these checks? Is it because they're friends? Okay. So are the single mothers that's having these kids are their peers and everything married and successful, and she just happened to be the one getting child support and benefits and stuff like that? Who are they hanging with? How old were they when they got pregnant? Was the goal to get a check? You know what I'm saying? Or was it just to have a baby? What's the motive? And
What
that's why
is
we
the
need people to
motive?
call in. And that's why we need callers to call in. So the number, let me find it again. Uh, Got to get organized here. It is 718-766-4558. Just press number one if you agree, disagree, or are indifferent, and we'll fill that. But and Corey, we both know a single mother. Not gonna bring up her name. Excellent single mother. One that was presented with a situation. She surrounded that child with a village, and could be like the best mother of all time. Didn't really need no help from the father. You know what I'm saying? As far as a 24-hour male around, and she kind of knew what to do. She had the backing of her family. She was very mature for her age and everything like that. So you do have your situations like that, and I only know like 1 out of 100 like that. So that's
But
not like a
look,
common case.
what you just said, if the community was there and if we were united the way that we're supposed to be united, then it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if one was missing because there would be so many people who were stepping in to fill that void. And they wouldn't have to do 70 different things. It would be one man who may be the uncle, the cousin, or just a close family friend who was good at sports, and he was the one who helped with sports. It would be the one who was good with math. There would be so much help that the label father wouldn't matter. All that would matter is that we were together and strong, and that's the problem. No mother, father, single parent, nuclear family, that doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that we are not a community like we say that we are.
Okay. And I definitely get that, but let me ask you, it's kind of like a tangent. So whether we get the and this is not about bashing women or anything like that, but when you talk about single motherhood, you have the ideal strong single mother woman. I don't need no man. I can do this by myself. Like, what is your opinion on like what brings the attitude up? Because maybe it's because you have a mother. Your mother was considered a strong single mother. She did this, she did that, and it seems like if we do the minimum for our kids, then you did a good job. I really don't think that's a good job. You know what I'm saying? If you did the minimum and your kids didn't die, nothing like that, you're good, and they went off and got jobs and everything like that, they're cool. That's fine. But I think that as far as not having a community, like you said, I think that we think the minimum is acceptable. I think that as Black people, we deserve the best. So you might have an average family that give the kid average. How about above average? Like, we're not going to grow as a community. People are not going to get better if we give them average and say that they should be given a standing ovation for that.
I agree. We still live in a society where graduating from high school is actually considered an accomplishment.
Exactly. And that's the minimum I'm talking about. So I'm not trying to crumb nobody or whatever like that. But you know how, like, in the hood, they say, okay, y'all go to some good high schools, y'all read real good, this, that, and the other. Y'all want to go to college, this, that, and the other. And y'all trying to be white. No, I'm not trying to be white. I'm trying to be better than white folks. That's the name of the game. It's for better than minimum. That's all you're gonna get. That's a welfare mentality that we gotta shake. I want to take it to the next level every single day I can, and I'm going to surround myself with those people so I can get to that next level every single day. You know what I'm saying? And nobody's parents perfect, no, at all. So,
but there's no method. Okay, for instance, if we were in Massachusetts somewhere or Connecticut somewhere, okay, there's going to be a straight direction list, okay, like ingredients for making a cake, okay? To be successful, these are the things that you're going to have to do. And those privileged children will receive that list in preschool. And they will work on that list. And they will work on that list, and they will work on that list. Just marking it off. Not saying that they exemplified something. Not saying that they were the best, but they just checked it off. Like, for instance, George W. Bush, not smart, right? He knows he's not smart. His daddy knows he's not smart. So what do? You go to Harvard.
Oh yeah.
You know why?
Then you go to Yale?
No, not for grad school.
Okay.
So what do you get on your resume when you go for that interview and you're not that intelligent? But when they look at your interview and they compare it to someone else's interview, what do you have? Even if it is Yale, compare Yale to Chicago State University. Who gets the job?
He gets the job.
He gets the job. He's not because he's smarter,
because he comes from power, wealth, and influence.
But not even power, wealth, and influence. Because when they looked at a piece of paper and you were talking about what stood out, that elitist mentality stood out. Because anybody can go to Chicago State. Can anybody go to Yale? Can anybody go to Harvard? Now, what got him into Harvard is something else. But it's an opportunity. It's just a check on the checklist. Trust fund.
And he didn't have no business being at Harvard under any normal circumstances. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Right. Because you got to look at the you got to look at the opposite. So we could have a young man from Whitney Young in Chicago, and he's taking AP class. He got 4.4 GPA, 36 on the ACT, right? And get into Harvard on a full scholarship, but you probably can't afford to go back and forth to to Harvard every, for Thanksgiving and stuff like that. So I can't afford it. So I'm gonna go to Chicago State because I can just jump on the train. So you're just a smart person at Chicago State. So you missed out on being a president because you couldn't go back and forth because of single motherhood. No, I'm just playing.
Well, not even just single mother, but not knowing the recipe. Like, okay, go back to when people were farmers, when it was sharecroppers, okay? When that son was with his father, he was training him. You know what I mean? He was training him for that job. So by the time he was 14, 15, 16, sometimes they got pulled out of school because at that point they were like 100% ready for that job. But so why aren't we training them to be for physics? Why aren't we training them to be an accountant? Why aren't we training them for in some form of science? But we are training them to go to prison. We are training them to be a rapper.
I can answer that. I'm sorry to cut you off, Corey, but I can answer that. So when you're talking about sharecropping, it's right after slavery. So if you're on a plantation sharecropping, and if everybody doesn't know how sharecropping works, you're pretty much working for the landowner. Since you are spending most of your time on the plantation, let's say that you have $90 worth of crops that you raise, and the landowner always said it was $90, so you're always indebted to the landowner. So pretty much what happened was that they used to pull their kids out of school. When they pulled their kids out of school, Corey, they was pulling their kids out of school at 11 and 12 and stuff like that. And you got to think about it, it's a little bit different now because when you're on a plantation, especially in Mississippi, Alabama, and stuff like that, in the sticks, you're really not a cog in the capitalist system. You know what I'm saying? Now, when you live in Chicago, you live in St. Louis, and you live into a major metropolitan area, and you got to pay tax, you got to go to school, things of that nature, you really can't get away with stuff like that. You can't pull nobody out of school like that. You know what I'm saying? And plus, you're going to the supermarket for groceries and things of that nature. You're not growing your food. So when you go up north, you're more of a cog into the capitalist system.
But you know, what I'm saying is that even to this day, our children are bred for certain things. And I'll give you 3. Okay?
Okay.
Basketball, football, some form of musician.
You talking about like a rapper or singer?
Yep. So I just think about a parent, single mother, nuclear family. How early do they start preparing their children to be a basketball star?
From the crib.
So why don't they prepare them to be an astrophysicist from the crib?
Because we don't know it.
Because we don't know any. And that's simply because we don't have the menu. We don't have the ingredients to know what do you need to do to become that. And that's simply because society has put us into this box to say, I will let you achieve in these certain areas. And that's it. And that's it. Because that father, he didn't go to college. So he doesn't know opportunities. When they're in high school, they say that black men are not good at math, yet the #1 degree that black men get is in some form of engineering. So how do you go from not being good at math to being an engineer? How is it possible? You see what I mean?
Y'all don't get it either, especially with all these street hustles out there good at math. You can't do a math problem, but you can hold weight and you can do all of that counting and stuff like that. So we got it in us. We got it in us, but we don't have the formal way to bring it out. But and I think we're going to have to digress and go to the next topic. But at the same time, let's say that you're a single mother. Now, I have seen this, and it's always been the older single mother. This is like the single mother that's 45 years old and has a 10-year-old child. So let's say they grow up in the west suburbs or something like that, and they don't know how to be an astrophysicist, and they're a single mother, but they are somehow in a community to where they can be mentored by a doctor, or I can spend time. Next door is, well, I'm just a teacher, but I live next door to a lawyer, and and their kids are my friends' kids. And then over on the other side of me, I have a professional chef. So you're exposed to a community. It doesn't matter what race they are, but these are elite people. So you
Right.
are, you know what I'm saying? You're exposing them to that. So the thing about it is, and Corey, I think I don't want people to get the wrong idea, especially when you do the replay. And if you do, whatever. But at the same time, if you can't afford the child, I think that's what both of us are saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can't afford the child, you're kind of stifling them. You know what I'm saying? Because if you can't have them to be no better than what you are, what's the point?
I don't know about that because there's a library, and the books in the library are free. There are posters that people put on their walls. Just step up to the next level.
Okay, but it's not that easy, Corey. You got to think about it. You got to kind of make why, like you said, that people play basketball, they're musicians and things of that nature. Why are they doing that? Because their peers are doing it, and it's cool. Now, let's say all black people was just being engineers and lawyers. Everybody would be engineers and lawyers. So you have to be surrounded by that peer group or that community to make it cool. Where the fun conversation is talk about the periodic table of elements. You know what I'm saying? Instead of Kobe's stats.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying? So it's
there's
not
that
that
conversation.
it's not that easy to go to. I'm not making excuses, but it's not the to do things to go to the library. Now, if we came from a community, just like the Arabian community, their thing is business, and I'm pretty sure if you like listening to one of their conversations, it's surrounded by businesses. I don't know a guy that's from India that don't own two businesses. So that's what they do. That's what they're going to be. Or they're going to be doctors or they're going to be lawyers. It's ingrained in it. It ain't going to be no slacking. And plus, they follow their religion. So they come from a community where they're a little bit more tight-knit and a little bit more disciplined. So they have that. They ain't trying to play no basketball, man. They trying to get some money. And they put their kids in them stores to, like, watch them, you know, because they know they're going to be owner of that store and they're going to expand the business. That's their culture. That's not ours.
But statistically, is it more likely that you own your own business or become a professional basketball player?
You should get your own business.
Thank you. So it's not anybody else's viewpoint. It's our viewpoint that it won't change. We won't change because as soon as they give us something, as soon as they dangle something above our head like a little dog, we're just going to keep jumping at it and jumping at it and jumping at it, and we'll never see past it. We'll never in a day see past it.
I'm with you, but when we start acquiring our mentality will change, our esteem will change. I'm optimistic it'll happen. I think that when I start my family, I'm going to give them little elements of that. I'm going to create something and leave something to my child to get that ball rolling, man, because I love black people too much for us to be in this constant situation the whole time. So that's what I'm going towards.
I talk to my daughter about college all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I tell her one school, I say, you know what school you're going to go to for college?
What?
MIT.
Okay.
MIT. No such thing. Nobody went to MIT that's broke. They all have positions in places that we never even heard of. Mm-hmm. They do stuff that we can't even imagine.
Yeah, they're in the government. We don't even know where they work at.
Right.
Secret agent.
And it's all I'm saying is it's a recipe. It's probably a recipe for each job from childhood. That if they wanted to have that job, this is what they should do. And our children, black children, just need to see the recipe.
And you know what, Corey, you might be right. We do have a you know, like at UIC in Chicago, they have like engineering programs for like 6th graders to kind of get them interested in stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So there are the resources. So when you say go to the library, you might be right, man. So the resources are out there. We just got to find them. If you want it bad enough, you got to find it for your kids.
But to do that, you yourself have to know how to read.
Okay. And
You see what I mean?
I'm I'm with you, Corey. And I got a caller from 314448. Caller, what's your name and where you calling from? Hello? Hello? Yeah, this is Tim. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hey, what's going on, Twan? Hey, Corey, can you hear Twan?
Maybe if I pick up. Hello?
Okay.
No. Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear him.
Okay. Cool. Go ahead, Twan.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
Yes.
And your child you got that experience in working with chaos. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta think on beyond the box. Like, so for myself, I'm 20 years old. I have one child. Truthfully, I'm a assistant manager for T-Mobile right now. I've been for like a year and 2 months. My whole goal was when I first started off at this job was to get management. Why do I want to get management? Because I want to give other people the opportunity to make money. So with me putting people in my environment, helping my black people do different things that they didn't even ever do. You know, someone has to step up and show them and teach them the way to do it. And if I can do do it, especially for a guy that hasn't completed or got any type of master's, doctorate, anything or doctorate, and I'm doing it right now. You should like people and tell them like, hey, I can. So I'm perfect idea.
That's exactly why I'm talking about a recipe, like an actual cookbook, so that you can open it up and you can see the job, so that you can see what the job is and you can see the steps. Because we don't know a person, like let's take investment banking. I don't know any investment bankers. I don't know how to become an investment banker. But if I didn't know how to become one, but someone in my community could lead me to this book, and it was like a step-by-step book, it would help me. It would strengthen me to know that this is something I can do, because I can at least start these steps.
And Twan, you know, and I want to commend you also, man. You one of the cats that actually are actively challenging males every day, and you're trying to be the example. So I want to applaud you on that, man. And it's a pleasure watching my brother and seeing him grow every day, man. So I wanna thank you for that, man. I appreciate the call. And Twan, side note, we have a little technical difficulty, so the people can hear what you said. So by next week's show, we're gonna have you call back in again, just in case they missed your points. Okay. All right, you take it easy.
All right.
So to all the listeners out there, I apologize. This is my first time doing this broadcast, and I didn't know that the sound would be crazy. So we'll definitely get that addressed.
Let's go on to the next topic.
All right, let's get it.
What's the next topic?
So, what does it mean to be black?
Woo! That is the question.
Yes, it is. So, I think the reason why I was thinking about that question was the whole Raven Simone thing. Well, she tried to clarify her statement when she said that she doesn't want to be known as gay. Doesn't want to be known as African American. She doesn't want to be a label. Her roots come from Louisiana with her parents. Don't call me African American. Don't call me this. And then she said, I never said I wasn't black. I don't know what made her say that. I've been doing a little bit of reading on the situation. I don't know if it's the pressures of Hollywood. I don't know. The thing about it, Corey, answer me this question. I think people in America shy away from being black because it's kind of seen as being deviant. Oh, you're black this, you're black that, and it's a negative. And if you're a different race, it's a little bit more positive. So don't call me black. I never heard anybody say don't call me white. You know what I'm saying? But it's always these cats that don't call me black. The thing about it is, and I've been talking to a couple of my people, and I know they're listening right now, should we consider ourselves African or not? And I even asked you the same question.
No.
And you know that, and that's
No.
you know, and that's people have their opinions on that. But at the same time, our roots come from Africa, to me.
Our roots do come from Africa, but we are not African. We are not African simply because of the breakage in the lineage. Now, if we had our lineage and we had our history, we would be African and nothing more. It would just be a different type of African, but still African. The thing about black is that black is a race, but it is also more than a race. Black is a culture. And inside of that culture, it includes people who group themselves by the same name. Maybe 20 years ago, they used to refer to people as Asian people as being Oriental. And they had to be taught that Oriental is the culture. They are different things in Asia, but not all the same. We are grouped together based on a lot of different countries, a lot of different ethnicities, and they all come together to be black. They don't all come together to be African American. For example, that would mean a person would be Haitian African American.
That's how I look at it.
But they're not.
Just because you're not socialized. The thing about it, first of all, Jesse Jackson came up with the term African American.
Yes.
Number one, and number two, it's like okay, like when me and my wife we went down to Puerto Rico, and you had the dark skinned Puerto Ricans, they was getting treated and they were separated just like the fair skinned Puerto Ricans, man. So they are African Puerto Ricans to me. They came from Africa. To me, the same thing. Black or African Puerto Ricans is the same thing to me.
It's black because it is more, because you cannot just talk about the skin. Black is not about looking at a person and saying that their race is based on their skin color. Black is about oppression. What is black? The answer is the oppressed. So, are there people who may not look like you who are black? Absolutely. Because they are the oppressed. In slavery, way before they made it to the United States, they were in South America. They were in the Caribbean. Those people are black. Technically, those people are more African than either one of us.
Can you elaborate on that?
Middle Passage. Middle Passage goes from Africa to Europe. The first slaves were sold in Europe. They went from Europe to the Caribbean.
Yeah, to the Central America.
So, but that was after Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go down to Central America. From Central America, they go up to North America. North America was poor. They were extremely poor. At most, they could afford to buy 3 or 4 slaves, period.
Yeah, because the land wasn't as farmable in Virginia as it was in like El Salvador. Is that correct?
Yeah, but Virginia was way after. Virginia is later.
So this is like Massachusetts or something.
Like, no. Like, think about the Virginia Company. Think about Jamestown, Virginia. Way before 1619, there was already slavery in Central America.
Yeah.
They had already been going there.
Sugarcane.
Yes. So they're already there. So these are the strong ones. And that's why if you look at a Haitian, his roots, his facial appearance is more like an African. We did not exist until trading, until the breeding states existed, which is Maryland, which is the Washington Mall, which when they were buying people, they were buying a woman and they were buying a man and they were having them to mate and then they were selling off their children, which is why our features are not as strong because we are the combinations of several different groups from Africa. Whereas in the Haitians, it's not that they're not that far separate than we are. We are 10 times more, I can't say it. We're just way farther away than a Haitian or a person from Jamaica or even a person from Puerto Rico or even a person from the Dominican Republic.
But hold on, and I get it. And what you're saying is like we're kind of mixed up because of the whole breeding process that happened in the original 13 colonies or in the area. But at the same time, since you had the slaves that came from Africa, from Europe, down to Central America that are Spanish speaking and Portuguese speaking, haven't they been mixed too?
Yes, but not the same. Remember, you had the indigenous group that was there. Then you had the people from Portugal who were coming, let's say, to Brazil. So you have those two groups that are mixing, and then you have the slaves from wherever Portugal is getting them from. So you have, it's only 3 different types of people who are mixing, where with us, you had the indigenous population, you had whites, you had the different places that they got Africans from, all mixing together.
Yeah.
So you got Liberia, right? You got the Congo. You have, let's say, you got Somalia. Imagine all of these people
But
mixing together.
This is more West Africa, right, Corey?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, so you got all of them mixing together. Then they're mixing with the indigenous population. Then it's also mixing with the white population. So it's more of a mixture going. Remember, there was this part in Roots where I forgot who it came over, but when they saw the African, they were like, I've never seen a real one before.
Mm-hmm. Because they were there 100 years before he got there.
Because they were bred.
Right.
They weren't actually brought straight off the boat. Mm-hmm. Like in this country, we did not see that. We did not see people coming from off the boat. You got to remember, going back to what tomorrow is, Christopher Columbus never made it to the United States of America.
El Salvador in Central America.
Yes. So he did not discover North America.
White folks taught me that one correctly. I remember that. Thank you, Chicago Public Schools.
That's the only part of history where we actually even bring up South America. At what other point in history do we talk about South America?
You know why? Because most of South America is not as civilized as North America. So to capitalism, they don't even matter almost. So like, for example, in Brazil, a very large country, they really don't talk about nothing but like the 3 major cities and like Rio de Janeiro, and then everything else is irrelevant. Like just like they don't talk about Mississippi like that unless it's football or something like that. So anything that does not contribute to a major economy is irrelevant to capitalism. So they're going to skip over that, just like they skipped over Black history. They think we're irrelevant.
So why bring up the fact that Christopher Columbus went to South America? Why is it important?
Because it's to keep it white as possible. Like that he conquered it. He's looked at as a hero, and that's why they bring him up. Christopher Columbus
looked at as a hero to whom?
To kids, because you learn about Christopher Columbus in 2nd grade, right?
Because they teach you a lie.
Which is also 100% agree.
Why isn't there a Magellan Day? That's the person who actually got to United States of America. If anything, we should have Magellan Day.
And how come we don't have Jen Point Baptist DuSable Day?
Well, that's you talking about Chicago. We can't.
But we should though.
Yes, but that's just Chicago.
Okay, but I'm telling you about the hypocrisy and stuff like that.
And he does have a day in Chicago. You just don't get it off from school.
You should get it off from school. He found in Chicago.
Yes, you don't get it.
But if Richard Daley found Chicago, we wouldn't go to school on his birthday. You already know that, man.
Yeah, but that's just because Richard Daley, the Daleys are corrupt, and they would have found it. Probably in 20 years, there will be a Richard Daley Day in Chicago.
They already got a day. It's called St. Patrick's Day. They'll let you out of school on St. Patrick's Day in Illinois, as far as I'm concerned. And if I'm wrong, y'all correct me in the chat box or hit me on Facebook. But they don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day in St. Louis. Do they do that in Texas?
Only in Chicago.
Exactly.
I mean, I know they drink. I know people get together and drink.
Yeah, but
I don't think they do it the way they do it in Chicago.
Right. It's a full-blown holiday. No school, no banks, no nothing, no post office, no nothing. I
got somebody here that says that they do it in New Orleans like they do it in Chicago.
Okay, but that's one of the most diverse. And I'm not disagreeing with that, but New Orleans is a very, very melting pot type place.
So that's what this country is.
Yeah. So I think we took a little tangent on what it means to be black. I think we went to the histrionics of it. What does it mean to be black? To me, black means everything, man. But black is also a struggle to educate, to make sure I'm on point, man. You got to work twice as hard to do everything. And then you got to watch Raven Simone on TV talking about she not this and she not that, and we are the main people that try to go ahead and support something like that. So
But
being
Raven
black,
Simone was correct.
okay,
Raven Simone says she's not African American. I agree with her. I'm not African American. I'm black. The thing about Raven Simone is she didn't say those last two words. She wanted to say those last two words, but she didn't. She wanted to say, I'm not African American, I'm black. But to be closely PC, she just said, I'm not African American.
okay. So what is she?
Black. She knows she's black because if anything, what she would have said is, I'm not black.
Okay, Corey. What's the difference between African American and black?
Okay, so Corey did his thesis on, is there a difference between being African American and black? Absolutely, there is a difference between being African American and black, but the difference is not necessarily what you may think that it is. The difference is not your choice, because no matter what you believe, you did not choose to be black, you did not choose to be African American. You chose the word black. Jesse Jackson chose the word African American, but what you are is a product of what someone sees when they look at you. Meaning, you may not even be black at all, but because of the complexion of your skin, you are black. That is why black doesn't have anything to do with race. Black has to do with oppression. If the oppressor views you as black, you are black. No matter what. Think about Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods comes out and says, I'm not black, or I'm not just black, I'm also this. This same person, they throw bananas at. So no matter what he thought that he was, what did the oppressor tell him that he was? You don't get to choose.
So hold on. So okay, I understand that because I can argue that fact, but when you get pulled over by the police and everything like that, whether you want to be Caucasian or not, you're gonna be black, Tiger Woods. You know what I'm saying? Because we are oppressed. So just because we're the oppressed people, why do we have to conform to just being an oppressed type mind frame? So
No, go ahead.
So like the whole like saying is that like in Ferguson, I mean not Ferguson, but in St. Louis, they had a little bit of uprising, and we burnt the flag. The protesters burnt the flag or whatever, and white people was pissed. And I remember back when I was 12 years old, this basketball player, his name was Chris Jackson, but he changed his name to Muhammad Abdul Rauf. And he didn't want to say the Pledge of Allegiance because, you know, he was a member of the Muslims or whatever like that. And then I'm thinking about, like, how I grew up. And from kindergarten or preschool, you are brainwashed to say this national anthem. And we're so oppressed that if we go to a ballpark and don't take your hat off, they're about to put you out the stadium. And you might not believe in that Pledge of Allegiance. So just because we're the oppressed people, why do we have to go by their rules? That's the slave mentality still.
Not really. So imagine playing at a casino. Okay? You go to the casino, you have this vision of what you're going to do. Okay? But you don't realize that you're playing against a stacked deck. Okay? So we have a vision, black people, of what we want. But we're playing in a game where every time we take one step forward, someone behind us is actually pulling us backwards. Strangely enough, that person that may be pulling you back may look exactly like you. The person that may be pulling you back...
Those are cones. But go ahead.
But the person that may be pulling you back may not be a person in itself, because it doesn't have to be a person anymore, because the system in itself has already been created. The system,
it's complex.
That system is what keeps you down. That system is what oppresses you. So let's say you say, hey, I'm not going to follow these rules anymore. Let's say you take a Marxist perspective and you say that the only answer, the true answer, is revolution. And the only way that anything will change is revolution. Nat Turner. Okay?
Hold on. Marxist was a socialist, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Karl Marx was a socialist.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So let's say that's your viewpoint and you riot.
Mm-hmm.
The bad part about riots is that most people don't realize that riots are actually created years before they happen. Riots are not these instant things that just pop up out of nowhere. The thing that happens in a riot that is instant is the people who choose to break the law. And if you go back to remember Rodney King, Reginald Denny, you had with that riot, you had people from all different points of life that felt like the way that I can get back at whatever system is to rob a store. Now, that's not revolution. That's ignorance. Revolution is battling the issue. First of all, you have to figure out what the issue is. If you can't establish what the issue is, then you will never beat it because you don't know what you're fighting for. So you get out there, you burn up a Quick Trip, you get out there, you flip over some cars. What did you do? All you did was make things look ugly in your community. All you did was make
I'm with you, but when I seen what happened in Ferguson the first night when they did the whole Quick Trip thing, and that was I was like, number one, like I agree with you on the point that you said that a riot starts years before it happened, and you are not a stranger to the area. There's been a lot of racial tension between the police and North County, and in the area, period, with black people and the police. They even have stats about the citations in Ferguson, Florissant, and different areas like that. When I seen Quick Trip get burnt up, it wasn't the smartest thing to do, but if there wasn't no black business, I didn't care, to be honest with you. Now, if it was like Sweetie Pies or something like that, I would have been hot, and that would have been the worst thing to do. But that's not, and I'm just saying, I'm not saying that's the best course of action, but that's not their community. That's a whole bunch of black people living in a town that's ran by 85% of the government is white. The 75% of the businesses are white. They're an oppressed people, underrepresented people in that country, and it is spilled over. Like you said, that stuff happened years before it happened. They got to a pissed off point and they reacted, but they did not react on any black businesses, as far as I know of. I didn't hear about any black businesses being burned down.
So here, my question today, is that Quick Trip up and running?
No.
No?
But who's that hurting?
Who is it hurting?
Quick Trip.
Who is it hurting?
Quick Trip.
Absolutely not. It's not hurting Quick Trip.
Who's it hurting? They can go to another gas station.
Can they?
Yes, they can.
Can they?
Yes, they can.
So the gas station that they're going to go to, does it look as nice as Quick Trip?
Probably does. They got another one right down the street, Corey. It's like
another Quick Trip.
No, not.
There you go.
They got Quick Trips all over North County.
So, okay, how much do you think Quick Trip had that location insured for?
Oh, a whole bunch, because it was in Ferguson.
So, did they hurt that business, or did they help them?
Exactly. I get it.
Did they destroy? What they did was make something in their community look ugly, and de facto, they ended up giving money to that business. That business isn't broke. Quick Trip's still up. You didn't go to Quick Trip's headquarters. You didn't go to Beverly Hills and say, hey, let's burn down the pretty white people's home. You burn down things where you live. Who are you hurting? So now your 16-year-old son can't get a job there this summer.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So what if we had a group that, it's a bad situation, the whole Quick Trip thing, and you were right about the insurance solution. What if you had a group of black people go buy that Quick Trip and the 16-year-old kid has somewhere to work? You know, we messed up. We messed up this time. We're not gonna let it happen again because the statement. Now, I would be equally pissed, and I think it would be a part of me because I live in St. Louis. If Quick Trip, they said they want to leave, and then some other ethnicity came in and bought it. That is a direct fault of me or the Ferguson, the residents of Ferguson, because we let them come in again. We burned it down. We could have bought it, and then we could have had somewhere for the 16-year-old kids to work. But if we're going to let them come right back in and buy it again, then what was the point of burning it down in the first place? So I kind of get it. You know what I'm saying?
And they have the money because they have the insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So now they wanted to put a Quick Trip in a nicer area anyway. What you just did was help them. You helped them. And we're talking gas. That gas is still under there. They didn't burn. It wasn't no explosion that messed up the oil, was it?
No.
Nope. Because if it was, it would have went way farther.
They looted and murdered the store and tried to break into an ATM.
Thank you. Ignorance. Ignorance. It won't change. What will it change?
It will change. The only way I can see it changing is if the citizens of Ferguson purchase that Quick Trip and make it their own gas station. That's
the only way it would change.
Wait, hold on, brother. Would that be revolutionary though?
No.
Yes, it would
be revolutionary.
Because you got to think about it, Corey. The definition of revolution on his face is just change, right? A significant change.
You didn't change anything. You bought a gas station. Actually, you didn't buy a gas station. You bought a convenience store.
Right. But I'm just saying, but that's change, right?
No. Change is if every citizen who lives in Ferguson said we're going to move at the same time.
I'm saying.
Now, wait. Now, guess what happens? Guess what happens to the police who work in Ferguson? They all lost their jobs. Guess what happens to the mayor? Guess what happens to all of the politicians in that area? They all lose their jobs. Now, did it affect change?
That's revolutionary, but it's not positive revolution.
Is it not?
But this is what I'm talking about. Go ahead, man.
It's got to be realistic because it's the same thing that they did with the buses. They didn't get on the buses and they realized that, whoa, more black people ride these buses than white people. So if we are not catering to the largest percentage of people who spend money in this population, then how will there ever be change? We'll be broke. So if they're not paying rent there because they moved, they're not paying utilities bills there because they moved, how many government agencies lose money?
Listen, Corey, this is the thing. And I disagree with you because you make it sound like the black people there are not capable of resurrecting their own economy.
They're not.
They're 74% of the population. I think they're capable because you got to think about it, man. You don't think that people can group up and actually start a Black Wall Street in Ferguson? I believe that.
This is what I believe. Look at Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
The city that you're describing. The city you're describing is Detroit, Michigan in the 70s. Look at it today. Look at Gary, Indiana. Gary, Indiana is an equivalent city to Ferguson.
But listen, both of those cities, Detroit especially, most of the economy came from the motor companies. In Gary, Indiana, most of the economy came from the steel mills. Those businesses were not black owned. I'm saying that if you have a bunch of these black-owned businesses and where the dollar can circulate, and this is a black town with over 70% population, you got to start small. You got to start small. It's not like Detroit. You know what I'm saying? You have people migrated from Mississippi and Alabama to Detroit because Gerald Ford and all of that, and they built these plants. I'm talking about a complete overhaul. And you have all these black people start these businesses, start employing each other, make this black dollar circulate. The schools will change. The businesses will change. And I think people would take better pride. The police would be a little bit more sensitive. We wouldn't have a Mike Brown situation. The city council wouldn't be so corrupt and things of that nature. I think the thing about it is Ferguson has a unique opportunity to become a model and break the norm. Because if they prove everybody wrong, it can be duplicated in Harvey or in Blue Island and things of that nature, and Berkeley and stuff, things of that nature.
We don't really have no Tupperware because it's all look under the sink. I use it off the sugar screen. Imagine. Okay, imagine this. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if everyone moves away from Ferguson, what happens to the value of the land in Ferguson?
It's gonna go down.
It goes down to dirt cheap. So when it does go down dirt cheap, what if those black people at that point bought it?
I think that'd be a good thing.
But they couldn't do that until they did one thing. They have to all do one thing together. It has to be whatever that one thing is, but they can't all buy the Quick Trip. If they all buy the Quick Trip, how does that change the police? It doesn't. It doesn't change the police. You have to do something to get rid of the issue.
Okay, but like I said, we said the earlier topic, one piece at a time, right? So let's say you have a group of 3 people that can invest in Ferguson, black owned, and they were to buy the Quick Trip. They have the Quick Trip. You got 3 people owning them. You can employ 15 black people. Then you got another group that wants to open up their own daycare, and they can employ 10 people. And then you have some parties that can open up a laundromat, and then they can employ how many people they want. It's going to take a while to kind of build up that momentum. But I'm talking about planting a couple of seeds, just like Cicero used to be. And I'm gonna give you an example. So like on Cermak in Chicago, if you guys are not familiar with, Cicero used to be a racist Italian town where you can be Mexican,
Yep.
you can be black, you cannot go into Cicero. But little by little, they let these Mexicans in there, and they just start buying. They work these menial jobs. They work for these wives and their kids. They was doing their laundry and stuff like that. And piece by piece, they was moving in there. And after they moved in there, they started opening up these little burrito joints and and stuff like that. And we was little kids then, and it was just piece by piece. Now, if you drive up and down Cermak, everything is Mexican owned. You know how I know it's not Mexican owned? Because everything up and down that street has Spanish signs. And there's no another white face to be found. So I'm just saying.
Could that be that reason, or could it just simply be that they gain more money, the Italians gain more money, and because they gain more money, they started to move out? Like, I understand what you're saying, that they let them in, but did they let them in because they were moving out? Because what you're talking about is the exact same scenario as the ghetto.
Yeah, I know the neighborhood. The neighborhood I'm from in the 60s and 70s wasn't no black people there. In Austin, in Chicago, it wasn't no black people.
It wasn't.
It was black flight. I know what you're about to go with. Go ahead, man. Educate the people.
No, I just want to get back to the definition of black, because we're off of the definition, and it's a very, very important question, because it's very hard to answer. Because when people talk about black, they talk about facets of it. Oh, they talk about hip hop, or why you trying to act black. They talk about yeah, but they cannot define the word. We cannot define black because we did not create black. Okay? We did not choose it. When they came here and they saw, when they got to the Caribbean, right?
Yeah, like the word black was only created in the Western world. Before in the Western world, it wasn't no black people. I mean, they weren't considered black.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it is this country who has defined us that way. But because this country defined us that way, the world has defined us that way. And they defined us that way out of complete fear. If I am white, they have to prove that you are the total opposite of me. What is the complete opposite of white?
So we're the antagonists, pretty much, and they're supreme.
Exactly.
All right, we got to move on. And Corey, you already know next show we might as well do the same topic, but this whole, a different conversation, man.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so this is one of my personal favorites. I think who made
Yes,
a
yes.
larger impact on Black people, Martin Luther King Jr. or Malcolm X?
You can start because when I start, I'm not gonna stop. Go ahead.
Okay.
You start talking because.
Now, I remember when I was a kid, I was fed Martin Luther King all day long. Like, learning about Martin Luther King is okay in our book. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the Chicago public schools. My mama taught me a lot about Martin Luther King. In the church, I was Martin Luther King. You know, when they do those little Black History pageants and whatnot. That was kind of fun, though. And I was like, man, I want to be a doctor when I grow up because I want to be like Martin Luther King. And then when you get a little bit older, and let's keep it real, people really didn't know about Malcolm X like in our generation or a little bit before, unless you was born in that generation until Spike Lee came out with the film.
That's
you know
true.
what I'm saying? Because a lot of people really didn't want you to know who the brother was.
True.
So, but I studied Martin Luther King. I saw the King movies. I read the books and all of that. I want to go to Morehouse. I wanted to go to I wanted to go to Morehouse because of him. He majored in sociology and all of that. But if you go into Brother Malcolm, he was the first. Him and Elijah Muhammad and the whole Nation of Islam was the first people to say, "Stop! This you're black, you're African, you're beautiful. Take a look at yourselves." And then also, I'm going to teach you about yourself so you can love yourself. That was revolutionary, man. We got so used to being broke down from the time that we got to this country to the 60s, and you got these brothers that came around and said, black is beautiful. Look at your beautiful selves. You've been told you were so ugly for your whole life that you started believing it. And these were revolutionary ideas, and Malcolm gave people knowledge of self and gave them love and stuff like that. And that's a very dangerous tactic, man, when you talking about that era. So we're going to get into a little bit more deeper. I think Malcolm, as far as the whole knowledge of self and know yourself, know your worth, read yourself, and also just if you're gonna like actually follow somebody that's gonna actually talk about your plight. Now, Martin Luther King, I think we kind of needed them both because he was a strategist. The whole nonviolent thing kind of worked, and then in some cases it kind of didn't work for him. But it was a strategy that obviously worked. But the thing about it is they make Martin Luther King seem like he won at the end, and he didn't. Like, they made it seem like since Martin Luther King died, that his way, there ain't no more racism because we got a holiday. And that's the lie that they felt that they gave us when we was kids. And that's not true. So we grew up, ain't no racism because Martin Luther King, we got a holiday and stuff like that. Martin Luther King work wasn't done by a long shot. And Malcolm X work wasn't done either. But the tracks they laid, man, they was about to get on to something a little bit bigger.
Yes, they were. Okay, this is probably this is about the best debate, Malcolm X versus Martin Luther King. I love the conversation. First, I have to separate religion. I have to separate Christianity and Martin Luther King from Muslim and Malcolm X. Because when you bring in the two religions, you bring in different facets of the conversation. Martin Luther King, to me,
You're a true sociologist. Sociologist. Go ahead.
Had a larger impact on our parents' generation. And Malcolm X had a larger impact on our generation. Simply because when people look at Malcolm X, they see themselves. Because when you look at Martin Luther King, what you see is he was a preacher's kid. He grew up middle class. He went to schools that most of us could not afford to go to. And even though he did deal with racism and he did deal with oppression, he didn't deal with it the same way that Malcolm X did. So if you only watched the movie or whatever, if you only had conversations, if you never read the book, if you didn't read the book, go get the book and read the book because you're stupid for not reading the book. So go get the book. Once again, go get the book. Malcolm X grew up having to deal with the KKK. Step one. Malcolm X's father, Malcolm X's father's brother, all had to deal with the KKK. Then you see the transition of Malcolm X going from the South to the North. So now you can understand Malcolm X on a different level. You saw him as this country boy. Go ahead.
I thought he was from Omaha.
What?
I thought he was from Omaha.
That's the South.
That's not the South, but it's country.
That's the South. Nebraska's the South. That's below the Mason-Dixon line.
No, it's not.
Okay,
it's not.
It's country as hell then.
Okay, it's country.
It's country.
I got 3 aunties that live in Omaha, and they're gonna see
country is the South.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you, man.
Country is the South. It's parts of Indiana that's the South. Okay.
I'm with you. All right.
So he has this transition from the country lifestyle, to what was really happening, jazz, all the new things that were coming in for a black man. So you kind of saw him go through the same transition that a black man that's your age today goes through from a teenager to like 25. Then you got to see Malcolm X be punished for what he was doing at that time. And because you got to see him be punished, we relate to that. We relate to having this idea of what we want to be, what we want to do, which is like totally against what we should be doing, and then we get punished. So because of that, we relate to him. People cannot relate to Martin Luther King because we don't get to see his struggle. All we get to see is him achieve. So like Malcolm X's life is about hard work and being punished and rising above it and becoming something great. And then once he became something great, actually still talking about being oppressed. If you think about it, what he created is the baseline for every rapper that exists today. I'm broke. I did some stuff, some traumatic stuff. Maybe I went to jail. Maybe I didn't. And now I'm better. That's the story. Now I have arrived. That's the story of the black man. That's the story that we all want. You don't see that with Martin Luther King simply because Martin Luther King started middle class. His father owned his own church. That's not common.
Corey, can I interrupt you? W.E.B. Du Bois and Marcus Garvey. W.E.B. Du Bois came for money, right?
W.E.B. Du Bois did not come from money.
Okay, he didn't. Okay.
He was not poor, but he wasn't middle class. Because he went to Fisk. He went to Fisk just like all of the rest of them.
Okay.
He got his undergrad degree and master's degree from Fisk University.
Okay, speaking of Fisk, Alex Haley wrote the autobiography of Malcolm X, right?
Yes.
Okay, and in the fashion that he wrote that autobiography, I didn't notice about Alex Haley until about 2 or 3 years ago. Alex Haley kind of went through that whole, Alex Haley grew up middle class.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because his family his father owned a business, and I think his father was a doctor of agriculture.
Yes.
Okay. And but Alex Haley really didn't follow the script. I think he got kicked out of school and then went into the army and then was like a playboy and things of that nature. So he kind of went through the middle class thing of Malcolm X, and then he was checking, and through all of that he was writing for the Life magazine or something. And and that's how they got Alex Haley to write the coming of age autobiography of Malcolm X. So I think Alex Haley kind of related to him in the way that he was writing that story as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's also impact. But yeah,
Alex Haley was afraid of Malcolm X. He thought that Malcolm X was going to turn out to be like this really Tupac-ish kind of character, and he found out he was actually the complete opposite. Like, if you look at it, it's actually Martin Luther King who is he's actually more militant than Malcolm X. If you really break it down and look at the black male and what you expect, if you talk about cheating on the wife, having the other children, if you talk about like disappearing, mistreating, no, there are no reports. Even the FBI itself said that Malcolm X was like nothing compared to Martin Luther King.
Okay. And I know that, but these other kids with Martin, man, has that been confirmed?
Have they been confirmed with Elijah Muhammad?
Yes. I believe that. And matter of fact,
but you said you'll never know.
But no, the thing about it is Farrakhan's kids married those illegitimate Elijah Muhammad kids. You know that? Yeah. Crazy. I mean, but they look like a happy family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so who had the bigger impact?
I think that it's generational. I honestly think that Martin Luther King had a bigger impact on our parents' generation, and Malcolm X had a bigger impact on our generation.
You know what's a little bit different about Malcolm than, and I just thought about this. I never actually thought about it before, but let's talk about it. Martin Luther King Jr. was educated by Gandhi.
Yes.
He was educated by Morehouse, and then he went to Harvard. Right? Okay.
I don't know if he went to Harvard.
But he went somewhere to get that doctorate, and I forgot where it was.
I know he went to Europe.
It was Boston University, not Boston College, but Boston University.
Okay, yeah.
That's where he went. Yeah. So Martin is pretty much ascribed to the middle class community. His father was a pastor, so pretty much he is educated by white folks this whole career.
Yeah.
All right. So you have Malcolm, on the other hand, that was educated by white folks in Omaha. They told him he couldn't really do nothing with it, so he stopped learning. Then he re-educated himself. Right. And then he got the rest of the education through the Nation of Islam, which is 100% black. So
no, because he received a master's degree. When he was in the penitentiary, he received a master's degree.
Right.
When he was in the penitentiary, he got a degree. I have to look it up what school it came from, but he got a degree.
I wouldn't doubt it, but I'm just saying. But the way the story was told, he kind of self-educated himself. So you got to look at it like this, Corey. Like when I went back to school to get my degree at 31, I could kind of filter the BS out because I was educating myself after I finished my homework on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm learning their stuff just to get the grades, but I want to know the deeper meaning of things, so I'm going to educate myself. And I think that's what Malcolm did. Even if he got that master's degree, he was educated on how to educate himself.
I agree.
So you got two contrasting things. The thing about it is Martin Luther King was cited for being going pretty much kissing up to white people and do it the white way. And then you have Malcolm X, which is seen as a rebel or whatever like that, and won't conform and wanted separation from white people in general. Which the thing about it is, you said it's a generational thing. People weren't rocking with Malcolm like that in my parents' generation because we ain't gonna mess with the white folks. No, we can't do that. We gonna mess with Malcolm because Malcolm gonna get us killed.
Yeah, you know but that's still a connection to other things. That's the media. That was the media's portrayal of him because they'll take a line out of the speech. Like for instance, the by any means necessary line. If you look up the speech and you see what comes before by any means necessary and what comes after by any means necessary, you will completely have a different outlook on by any means necessary.
They did the same thing that Minister Farrakhan with that Jewish comment. If you look what he said before and after, it was a clean quote, and they completely dirtied it up.
And
And
that's
they do
what
that.
he does.
And that's what they. You know, Corey, I think we talked about this before. It's not fashionable. It's not fashionable to kill black people, black famous people anymore. What they do is discredit you now.
Yes.
With propaganda.
Because they make
and that's
you a
kind of
martyr.
what they do.
They make you a martyr. Like, to be honest, it would have been in their best interest to let Malcolm X live and just portray what was going on between the Nation of Islam and him. That would have been a larger scandal than the murder, because they murdered them both at their peaks. Like, everything that Martin Luther King had done, Martin Luther King was about to go to a whole nother level. With the Poor People's Campaign, it was no longer about black people. Martin Luther King was about to become the face of the United States of America. You see what I mean? He was about to be, when you think about America, that's the person that you think about. And that wasn't going to be good. Because when you had white people on one and black people together, united, saying "Go Martin Luther King," it would have been trouble. When he had people in Indiana, people in Chicago, people in the South showing all how they're related, how they're connected from being poor. Like, think of it today: poor people are Republicans, poor white people are Republicans. Why they're Republicans? Nobody knows. I don't even think they know why they're Republicans, because it doesn't benefit them to be a Republican. But they are, because they want to feel like they're more. And Martin Luther King was about to be that person who united America. No more race. It was truly about to be America, and they did something.
And you know what? And Corey, if you look at it from their position, they kind of almost had to kill Martin Luther King because the presidency was in flux. You know what I'm saying? So Martin Luther King, and I wasn't around at that time, you pretty much could be the most popular figure in the, like you said, in the country.
In America.
Because people in America, it could have been. You know what I'm saying?
Like, imagine that. Imagine if he was still alive, how he could have united all different types of people. How he would have united us so we were just seeing ourselves as one, and people listened to him no matter what race they were.
But you know what? And I like Malcolm's philosophy when he was still in the Nation of Islam. Let's clean up our own house before we start uniting with everybody else. And I think he was getting off that. But I think we should clean up our own house first too. Unless you just want to go under the umbrella of poor people. But at the same time, the problem is that you clean up poor people, and white folks start getting money and black folks. Bottom line, like you just made a comment saying, why are poor white people Republicans? Because they know when it's their time to come up, they're gonna be just like them other Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
but they're not gonna come up.
Uniting as poor people ain't gonna serve our interests. Just like the feminists, the black women feminists tried to line up with the white women feminists, and they kind of got left holding their bag, man. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, only white women have problems with their husbands. Black women really didn't have the same problems that white women have with their husbands. They kind of use them and the civil rights thing to kind of get leverage and get to where they need to be.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, maybe that might have backfired on Martin Luther King.
Well, technically, everything backfired on him because he was assassinated.
Okay. You ready to move on?
Yeah, but everything backfired. Because look, think, you got him, he's gone. And what? When did they build that statue in D.C.?
Yes,
ago?
that's ugly statue.
2010?
That statue
But I mean,
don't look
why
like
did it take that long? Why did people fight the fact for him having a statue in Washington, D.C.? Why was it even a question?
I don't know.
Why would you fight? Why would you fight Martin Luther King? You know why? Because he's black. That's why. That's why.
I wouldn't doubt it.
The safest person, and you still fought it. Why did they take so long to be able to raise the money to build that statue? All your rich athletes, all your rich sports figures, they should have had the money to build that statue in a day. One day.
Now Washington.
Ready to go on to the next one?
Washington. All right. So in today's society, is it better or quarterback this, Corey, if you want? How's that sounding?
This is live. I can't. They trying to get me off air. It's live.
Okay.
Okay.
I see you eating that salad. I need a salad.
Yes, and he won't stop. So is it possible that we can cut it here? And I enjoyed all of this. I've been in the background listening the entire time, enjoyed it all.
Okay. It's a wrap.
Can we stop it, Tim?
Yeah, we're going to stop
right,
it, and I got to call
next week.
Yeah, y'all got you. All right, and thank you for everybody for listening, and thank you, Corey, for being on here. It's the first episode. Please leave me feedback. Let me know how it go, what you like, what you didn't like, and all of that good stuff. We're going to get back to you. Thank y'all for supporting me. I love everybody that watched. Thank you.